So let me start with the difference between the initiative and the referendum. And these are two separate applications, and they were both filed by the same committee. When you process a referendum and initiative, you send out petition gatherers, but there's usually a committee that's behind it, a special interest group that's behind it. And so with the initiative, that was filed first on June 30th, and that took us by surprise. The initiative is proposing basically a tax on cannabis cultivation only. It doesn't apply to dispensaries necessarily. It doesn't apply to manufacturing facilities. It's just based on cannabis cultivation. And the initiative is a legislative process that can be initiated by voters. And so when the petitions are circulated, if they get enough signatures, it's then that initiative measure is put on the ballot for everyone to vote on. The referendum, on the other hand, that was filed on July 6th, which was the last Board of Supervisors hearing. And that's significant because on July 6th, the Board of Supervisors approved the minutes of the meeting where they basically approved our rezoning for Sites 5 and Site 6. And so once the official minutes are approved, there's a 30-day appeal time period, and that's the referendum period. And anyone can file a referendum, and again, it's driven by petition signatures. Registered voters sign these petitions, and if they get enough signatures in that 30-day time period, the actual rezoning decision is then placed on the ballot. And so the registered voters of Graham County would then have the ability to decide whether or not they want to approve the rezoning for Sites 5 and 6. So referendum is more of an appeal process of a rezoning. Initiative is where the voters want to implement a new law. So that's the difference between the two.
And on the initiative, I think that they're calling for $1,000 per pound tax.
Correct. It's almost double because not double, but they were creating this occupational permit fee. So each cultivation facility would have to pay $1,000 for the permit. And then every pound of cannabis that they sell would be charged a $1,000 fee on top of that. So it's pretty significant. It's a pretty hefty tax that they're proposing.
Now, what does Bayacan normally sell a pound of cannabis for? They sell to the wholesalers, right?
So yeah, the cultivation facilities across the state, they either sell to dispensaries or they can sell to manufacturing processing plants where they do the extraction and infusion. But I mean, the range of, it depends on the product, the type of the part of the flower that's being sold. If it's the actual flower itself, I mean, that can range from $1,000 per pound to maybe more, $1,500 per pound. But if it's the actual trimmings, and that's a big part of a lot of cultivation facilities, the trimmings, which are like some of the leaves, that's sent off to the extraction facilities where they extract the oils from the plant. That's sold at $300 to $500 per pound. I mean, so a tax at $1,000 per pound off of something that's being sold at $300 to $500 per pound, that's where you get possibly a 300% tax. I mean, that is...
So they don't differentiate between the bud versus the leaf?
Correct. It's surprising in some regards because as we are looking into the committee, all of this is speculation at this point. I haven't been able to verify exactly who's behind it. All we know is we have the chairman, who is the same chairman of the Snowflake issue, and in that case, in Snowflake, I mean, there was a recall of the mayor and then 3 of the council members that voted to approve the special use permit in Snowflake. So he not only did a recall petition, he also then filed this lawsuit, and there was other petitioners in the lawsuit, but he was one of them. And then there was also an open meeting violation that was filed in the Snowflake case, and surprisingly in the Graham County case, there was an open meeting violation that was filed with the supervisors in the AG's office. And I'm not sure exactly who filed the complaint with the AG's office in our case. It just seems like it's a very similar playbook of, challenging the decision to allow the cannabis cultivation operations. It seems like it's a very similar playbook with both of them.
And so this will do absolutely nothing to thwart the sale of medicinal and recreational cannabis in Safford and Graham County. It'll just stop the cultivation and halt hundreds of new jobs and thousands of tax revenue.
You're absolutely right, and that's why another reason why I think this is a competitor-driven initiative and referendum. We are Buy a Can and Nature Suite. We presented our plans to the community. This diversification of the greenhouses is so important to the region. The jobs that are going to be generated, all of the things that follow these good-paying jobs is just going to be such a benefit to the community, and so. It's frustrating to have a referendum and an initiative filed in this case because if they are successful, these jobs will not be here. And I'm not just speaking for Buy a Can. I can't speak for Eden, but I think it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to operate a cultivation operation here in town, in Graham County. And I think that that is realistically the end goal of what these two processes are being aimed at, is to prevent cultivation in the entire county.
Do you think it's competitor driven from other people that are actually cultivating in other counties, that they just don't want to have competition here from Graham County?
It could be, and it looks that way. I mean, again, this is all speculation on my part because we haven't been able to locate exactly who's behind this, but it would appear so. And it's unfortunate. I mean, it is impacting future jobs and economic growth for the county for the benefit of someone else, growing the same exact product in a different region of Arizona. So that's what's so crazy about it. So, yeah.
What's next for Buy a Can?
We are taking all measures that we can. We're looking into the legality of the initiative. We are getting the word out about what this really could do to the county in terms of the jobs, the businesses, and what it's aimed at. Because I think that a lot of people have signed this petition not really truly understanding the tax that was being proposed. They heard this will support public safety, or this will support drug abuse programs for children. They may have heard other things, such as the supervisors support the initiative, and I think that we are really trying to get the truth out through advertising, through the media, such as some of your great articles out there. So I think that's one step, and then the second step for Buy a Can and Nature Suite is just to proceed as we've planned. I mean, we have other things that we need to do in terms of getting plans approved, getting permits approved. We have a variance approval coming up, and so all of those steps we are continuing to take, because ultimately, I mean, Nature Suite has jobs that are being impacted by further delays. Buy a Can has immediate, in terms of timeline, wanting to start operations on Site 6. It's immediate, and so we have to move forward and just do everything that we can to overcome these two applications that have been filed. If you feel after you've gotten more information, you've had more of an opportunity to look into it, and you want your name removed, please go visit Hannah at the Elections Department at Graham County, 921 West Thatcher Boulevard on the first floor, and she would be happy to provide that statement to you, and you can go through the process. It's a really quick process, but again, you need to be doing it in person at the Elections Department so that they can verify your identity, and then your signature will not be counted towards the total. I think this is a challenge that we want to overcome. All of the commitments that we made during the hearings about wanting to be a good community member and starting the process of hiring people from Graham County to start our operations in terms of Buy a Can standpoint, those are all things that we are still committed to. Nothing is on hold. We're continuing to move forward, and I hope that the large amount of community support that we received during the hearing process, we are so thankful for that support, and we want to let our supporters know that we're here to stay. We really are. We want to make this work, and we're going to do everything in our power to overcome these two applications.